Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
I'm your host, Con John Turk, and on this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're going to talk about the One Lap of America. Joining me to be my guest expert, really, because it's been a dream of mine to be or do the One Lap of America, but I've never had the joy of doing it. He's a Honda engineer. He helped me figure out some stuff with my car. He enjoys racing. Nick Amato, welcome to the show, bud.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, so first off, let me thank you for helping me figure out my car, because it went from a miserable experience the first two races of this year to a blast to drive, outside of my mechanical issues, which, you know, we all have those from time to time this last weekend. So
yeah, we do.
Let's talk about your racing experience and your background, how you got to work with Honda and what really drives you to do what you do.
So it's a bit accelerated because I went to college not really knowing too much about cars, and I ultimately decided that it was an interesting system enough. And then in college, started mechanical engineering, and then got hooked into autocrossing because the local region did it at my college. So I did that for like on and off for about 2 years or so. And it kind of got me interested into motorsports as a whole. And as a result, when I graduated college, I wanted to get a job somewhere that was in the automotive field. And what matched what I wanted out of a job was Honda. I had some friends who were graduating and also going for Honda. So it kind of made sense. And I made my way over there, and I had some friends who were working in my department who had been part of HART, or the Honda of America racing team. And from there, that's kind of how I got started in the team. But a little bit more about my personal racing per se is that I've always liked old Hondas. I learned stick on an old Honda. I had a 97 Del Sol VTEC that was like an amazing little thing. Unfortunately, it got crashed. But that's really where I learned how to wrench too. So I bought it not really knowing too much about cars. I just knew I liked them. My buddy had a 95 Del Sol VTEC. So we had pretty rare trim cars that both had B-series engines and slick 5-speed transmissions. So we're like, well, we might as well learn together. And then eventually, once I replaced that car with a 95 Integra that I pulled out of some dude's garage for $600 as a shell, completely rust-free. So, and then I built that into a track car. So it's a very basic car. It's got a roll bar, suspension, engine is just rebuilt to like OEM plus specs so it doesn't blow up. But that's where I kind of learned a little bit about going on track and maybe doing some setup stuff. But as I progressed through HART, that's where I really got a good experiences on learning how to set up a car, what you can identify to change your setup and whatnot. So I've been doing HART since I hired in at Honda in 2019, which is almost 4 years or so now. Probably actually next month will be 4 years. So I've been doing that, and it's been a blast. I mean, it's been more than I could ask for. I will say that.
Yeah. Now we, Kevin LeClaire, I don't know if you know him. He comes down and runs with us, on occasion. So he's a part of the HART group, or is that the whole Honda bonus of we have this fleet of cars, racy cars that you guys can take out and do your thing with?
To an extent, it's sort of like that. But yes, Kevin is part of the team. He is on the R&D side of the team. Basically, like there's two sides. There's manufacturing and R&D. But the last few years with company changeover and whatnot, we've kind of combined as one program. So I've had some fun with Kevin. We did the 24 hours of VIR last year. Together, we ran 3 cars there. Kevin was in an RSX. I was in a 99 Civic, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy, fast driver too. So, but going on to a little bit on your second part of your statement is that basically you kind of have it right. We get all the old cars, and old is maybe the wrong term, but they're former test vehicles that obviously can't be sold. So We get to use them. We put cages in them, basically build them to race spec so that they're safe and operational vehicles. And then we use them to go racing. And the idea is to take your skills you learn from racing and what you can identify in terms of how a car handles, what it does well, what it doesn't do well. And then you can take that experience and translate it to your everyday job as an engineer and provide a better product for the customer. Is it always applicable? No, obviously not every customer is going to be going on track with their cars, but if it helps you build a better car, maybe at limit or in everyday driving or at some threshold in braking, if that provides a better feedback to the customer, that's also another benefit of HART itself.
Yeah. I applaud Honda in that respect, that they do that type of work and they let their people, their personnel experiment and, for lack of a better word, play. And then, but that play, we all learn while we're at the racetrack. Everything we do, we're learning something new, especially when we're all trying to get faster. So if you can apply that in your everyday job, then more power to you. That's an amazing way to do it, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you said it as well. Every time you go to the track, the conditions are different. Something's different. There's always something new to learn. And I myself have learned that. I mean, I know I'm not the greatest driver ever. There's some guys on our team who are lightning quick, and it's unbelievable to see the skills they have. But even then, guys who've been doing it for 20 plus years on our team still go to the track. We're still figuring things out. We're trying to troubleshoot things. It's obviously an amazing opportunity and an amazing privilege to be able to do that as part of a work activity.
Right.
And I don't know how else to say it, just other than it's just something that I know makes me as a better engineer, but also just overall grateful to the company I work for. So I'm very happy to be a part of it. And we're not the only team as well. Like when we did one lap, Team Toyota was there. Michelin was there. There was supposed to be like a team Dodge or I guess Stellantis, but I don't think they showed up this year due to some issues. So we try to hopefully get other companies to look the same way.
Yeah. The consumers and potential future race cars that, you know, cause we're all converting street cars, will benefit from that. So
yep.
Go hide some good technology in the 11th or 12th gen Civic, because that'll probably be my next one. So did you guys decide as a team, or did a couple of you on HART decide to go? Was it a corporate decision to attend one lap?
So actually the team attended last year, and since one lap is a bit of a smaller effort in the sense of number of people, last year it was done by Nick Hammond and Clifton Ching. Those guys have been racing for at least 20 years. I mean, Nick Hammond was a factory GT3 driver from that, the Nissan, like Inspire Academy. I don't know what it was called, but when they had that competition where they had all the guys drive on the simulator and then the winners would get a GT3 ride for a year. He did that. He won and he crushed it. So, and he's been all around. He's done NASCAR, like level driving. He's an amazing driver. So he decided that he wanted to take part in it last year, and Clifton, who was his partner in that, they decided together they'll work together and perform on it. So it was sort of a bit of a pitch last year because at the time Honda was debuting their TLX Type S and they're kind of reviving that Type S brand.
Right.
And they wanted to use it as a tool to say, here's our Type S vehicle. This is a product we offer. It's a way to demonstrate the quality and features of the vehicle that we work hard to put in them to make them capable vehicles on the street, but you could also take them to the track, have fun on a back road or something along those lines, and still be able to enjoy your car and understand that it's got capabilities that you may not see every day, but you're able to exploit in a safe and controlled setting. And so they wanted to show that, and Honda agreed that it was a good idea. And so they participated last year, and it was a success for them. I mean, they took that same TLX Type S that was taken this year, and they did the one lap route last year, no issues. I think the worst problem they had was they forgot to bring an impact gun, So the whole time they had to take off wheels the old school way, which, I mean, if you call that a problem, that's like your biggest issue. I'd say that's a great week for them. So for this year, the reason why we did it was that, we all were given the opportunity. There were 4 of us who went, and we were given the opportunity to go. So we had the budget, we were given the green light, and basically wanted to continue that same message. We wanted to show that we had the TLX and the NSX. We wanted to be able to show that you can take your Type S product that you buy straight from the dealer. If you want to, you can modify it as you please, but we took bone stock cars with just sets of tires and brake pads and brake fluid. There was no other modifications. And you can take them to the track. You can have your fun and you can go fast and still be safe. And the car has capabilities that, I'll be honest, I can't explore all of them because I'm not that skilled. But our other driver, who was our IMSA driver, he was able to with the NSX, and it was amazing to watch. But really, that's kind of what we wanted to do, is just continue the message and show that the Type S name isn't just a trim level. It's an actual package where you can really enjoy a vehicle beyond its daily comforts.
Yeah. So let's get to the basics a little bit, because I actually want to hear a little bit about where these cars would be classed and stuff. But essentially, can you explain the overall what one lap is? Like what the event is composed of?
Sure. So basically, One Lap of America is its name. You're doing one really large lap. So the event starts every year at Tire Rack corporate headquarters in South Bend, Indiana, because Tire Rack is the presenting sponsor for the event itself. They're gracious enough to offer discounts to each competitor for the tires they purchase, because the tires do have to be purchased through Tire Rack themselves. One, because it kind of keeps everyone buying from the same vendor, so you don't maybe get a set of tires that has been heat cycled a few times, maybe to get a slight advantage, but mainly because they're the presenting sponsor and they offer really good deal for the tires. So ultimately, in the end, I mean, that's where we buy our tires from anyways, if we need them. So it was just sort of a, hey, all right, Tire Rack, we're already buying from them. They sponsor the event. It makes sense. So you start there, and they have a little proving ground next to their facility. It's not super big, but it's enough to where you have a 200-foot skid pad, you have a little outer ring and whatnot. And so basically every competitor starts there, and they'll do a wet skid pad as the first event. Because whenever you do skid pad on dry, it tends to eat through tires, so they do the wet one first, so that way you're not killing your tires on the first event. And then it's a series of 6 to 7 tracks that you go to, so independent tracks. Each year it varies based on scheduling and availability, and it's always a bit different. Some tracks, they go every other year. Some they cycle every 4 years. There hasn't been a track except for Tire Rack and Grissom, which is Air Force Base, which is the autocross event that they go to each year. So after the first event at Tire Rack, you go down about an hour and change south in Indiana to Grissom Air Force Base, where the local SCCA region are kind enough to put on an autocross as part of the event. They come and you run that autocross, and then they take your best time from the 6 runs that you get, and then you're on to the next one. So for us this year, our next event was Nelson Ledges, and then after that was Road Atlanta, and then after Road Atlanta was Nashville Superspeedway to Eagles Canyon in just northwest of Dallas, Texas, then Eagles Canyon to Hallett, and then Hallett to NCM in Kentucky, and then back up to Tire Rack itself. That's like the basic idea. You go to a series of tracks. You have, depending on how he structures it, you have long transits, you have short transits, and then you're basically at a new track each day. And so that's kind of a bit of, it's a way to sort of show that there are all kinds of tracks around the country, but also not everyone's been to them. So you might be competing against someone who has been to the track and you haven't, or vice versa. So it makes the competition the entire week pretty tight. I mean, not too many drivers have been to all those tracks. Some of them have, but for the most part, not everyone has, like for myself. So like of the tracks we went to, 4 of them I had not been to myself. So something like that, basic structure, that's kind of how it worked.
Okay. Does Tire Rack do your mountain balancing when you arrive too?
So you can. I mean, we are, again, privileged enough to have our own facilities where we can mount and balance tires.
Right.
Not everyone can, but Tire Rack does have the ability to do so. I mean, personally, when I order tires through there, I have them shipped and then there's someone local to me, but Tire Rack can do mount, balance, road force, everything to the nth degree. And actually, when you go to the Tire Rack for the events themselves, they open up their shop. So they have like a small shop, maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 lifts, not like huge by any means, but they open up their shop for any repairs or any modifications that you need to do. And they're more than gracious enough to help I don't think they charge. I don't know. We didn't need to use it, but no one has ever said they do charge.
That's
but
cool.
They're gracious enough to help. They have their techs there too. And plus the Tire Rack guys who actually are at the event are also big supporters. I mean, for the most part.
Right.
And they're more than happy to help with repairs or diagnosis, etc.
Yeah. So my wife and I really want to do it. We're near DC. So
Gotcha.
Do people trailer their vehicles to the start, or do they just roll in like cannonballish style?
It's about a 40-60 split. Like for us, we were in Columbus. Columbus is only about a 3.5 hour drive from South Bend, so we drove the car up ourselves.
Okay.
The issue is like you can trailer your car up there. That's not a problem. But if you do, you have to find some place to store it because Tire Rack doesn't have a lot of parking. So unfortunately, that's a bit of an issue.
Right.
But at the same time, if you do drive it up there, if you are far, you have to be able to plan that into your tire's longevity. So it's a bit of a kind of up and down. Do you trail it up there or do you not? So someone drove from Canada, which from Canada to Indiana sometimes isn't far, but it's still like 8 hours. Someone drove from Colorado. Actually, 2 people did. And they drove from Colorado, which is at least 12 hours. I'm assuming more. So you can drive up, and then there are people who trailer their cars up. It was about 60% of them drove, 40% of them had trailers.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the rules, because actually the one rule that sticks out to me is that tire depth rule.
Yep.
So when you're done, you have to come off with, 2/16 tread?
I'll be honest, we didn't get our tires measured. I'm imagining it's because you have to come with at least some amount of tread to be DOT legal.
Oh, yeah. It's 230
for
seconds.
So the rules are pretty kind of loose in the end.
Okay.
But your classification is what changes. So generally, the rules kind of go between a modified car and an unmodified car. We took stock cars, so we were in the unmodified categories. And then there are some people who showed up in fully modified cars. There were like Team Toyota had their vehicles were modified, and they were excellent competitors. And man, they're very fast drivers too. And then you had people like us who were stock, and for the most part, the competition is stock vehicles. But basically, there are a few rules you need to abide by, and some were new for this year. Brock basically said that Brock Yates is the actual organizer of the event. Sorry, Brock Yates Jr. He's the organizer of the event. He issued that this year he wants each car to be capable to house a driver with a Hans device and a fire extinguisher. And it could be a handheld one. So basically, a lot of people had to retrofit their vehicles to accept a Hans or a hybrid Hans. A lot of people went the hybrid Hans route because it's a bit easier because you don't need to install actual 5 or 6 point harnesses and a roll bar, etc.
Right.
You just put on that hybrid Hans and it attaches to your helmet, and it's actually really comfortable too. I'm surprised at how you didn't notice it was there, especially when you're in the car. So you had to have that, and you had to have a fire extinguisher, and then those are like the requireds. Then after that, you had to purchase your tires from Tire Rack, and they needed to be new tires. You are allowed to use a tire from the previous year if you choose to do so. You just have to prove it was from the previous year, and generally all the tires get stamped at Tire Rack with like the OLOA and then whatever year, and then that's how you know it's your tire. So then after that, it really determines on did you modify your car or not. Some cars are going to be in the stock, some aren't, and it can be a bit of a discrepancy. And for instance, like in our category, our TLX with 350-ish horsepower stock was going against an M5 CS with like 600 horsepower and a very, very good driver behind it. Now, that's not an excuse by any means because ultimately in the end, like we weren't close, but though like there's a bit of a range in the classes, but that's part of it, right? Like the whole point of one lap is to bring the car that you feel that can compete at every track, not eat through its tires, and also be able to be driven that 4,000 miles without killing your back or being an awful time, because you had someone also there who was in an MGB convertible with an LS engine in it. Oh. So that thing was tiny and loud, and they had to drive it the whole time. And they did. I don't know how, but like the rules are pretty lax for that reason, because they don't want to discriminate, like have people not discriminate. They don't want people to feel like they can't bring some car because of some rule. You just can't have a full on roll cage in it because those aren't road legal. But for the most part, if you want to throw a roll bar in the back, you can. You can have fully modified suspension. You can have a modified engine. You're just going to be in the modified class. And then if someone else has a 800 horsepower Corvette, you can't complain because your car's also modified too. So it's a bit of like an up and down. Like, what do you want to do? What do you feel is the best?
Yeah. I didn't realize that there was the modified, unmodified, but
yeah, there is. And like modifications they're pretty like self-explanatory. Like if you start changing dampers, that's modified. But since our TLX was bone stock, except the wheels, tires, brake pads, and brake fluid, and I think the limitations were like you can change the rotor, you can add brake ducting, and then anything that's like factory aero. So if like your factory option was like an optional wing, that's allowed too. But for the most part, like that's where it stopped. Like really, it's just anything that really wasn't modified stays in stock. Anything that has like even small modifications, like there was an M3 that had a set of coilovers and control arms, or basically some minor suspension mods. So they got moved into modified. Yeah. So something along those lines.
I would think that suspension anything is really going to end up putting you in modified, but
for the most part, yes. But Brock is he's a very easy guy to talk to, and he'll explain his reasoning on everything. So, and he's always open for a phone call, text message, anything to get communication through. He was very easy to make sure we had everything clarified ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm just, personally, I'm very fond of my 8th gen Civic, so I thought about getting like a sedan and leaving the engine, all the powertrain stuff stock, and throw some dampers on it and go. But if that's gonna,
you could.
Well, the other thing is the brakes are terrible on the stock car. So
yeah, they are. They have some upgrading, but for the most part, I mean, it was a wide range of vehicles. I mean, there was a 70s Nova there that was fun to watch because there were 2 women driving it, and because I think it had bench seats up front, when they were going around corners, you could see her like bracing her arm on the door and then holding it the other way. It was a hoot to watch, because that car should not be going that fast around those corners, but somehow that car was getting wheeled.
Yeah. I heard there was a contingent of Spec Bs that was rolling around, or Spec B type cars.
They have a Sunday Cup class.
Okay, Sunday Cup.
There are only 3 entries. You had a Kia Rio. There was a Honda Fit. No. Yeah, there was one Fit. There was a Celica GT, which fit in Sunday Cup class. And then there were these 2 Corollas that were modified, and they were both turbocharged, but they were still Sunday Cup based on like how much power they made.
Right.
So those guys were really cool, the 2 Corollas, because they came from Colorado, and they were always wrenching on those cars because, whenever you modify a car, the reliability sometimes can go out the window.
Especially with
I'm
boost.
Not saying that's what happened. Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that's what happened to them, but like, I mean, every car on one lap, some way, shape, or form, there's going to be a problem. And unfortunately, they got a lot of problems, but they persevered and made it all the way through, which I give them total props, total respect for, because that's definitely not easy. I'm sure there was a ton of times where they wanted to throw in the towel, but you come out all that way, why give up?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like being at the racetrack. It's going to take a lot to give it up, You spend a lot of money, a lot of time traveling. Why would you give up? So,
I agree.
Yeah, you just got to keep going. Okay, so let's talk about what you guys brought. You brought the NSX and you brought the TLS. So, what are they in 2 separate classes or the same class?
So the TLX Type S ran in luxury stock touring because it's over $50,000, and so that puts it in luxury, and then stock touring because it's an unmodified vehicle. So that car basically was the previous competitor from last year. It's a 2021 TLX Type S, set of Bridgestone RE71 RSs on it, which are excellent tires. And then team sponsor, which was HRE Wheels, were kind enough to loan us a set of wheels for this event. And they'll also be used for further events later on the line for the other parts of our HART program. And Carbotech brakes, they were kind enough to give us some brake pads that we thought would do the deal, but also still perform in the minimal amount of time you have sometimes to heat up the car, and they were excellent. So, and then we had Redline brake fluid. Redline's been a long time sponsor of HART. I think since the beginning, basically. And so that's all we had for that car. So it's a very, very nice vehicle to drive on the road. I mean, the transits in that thing were excellent, super comfortable. The suspension has adaptive suspension settings, so you can put it in comfort, glide over the bumps, glide over anything, and just cruise in that thing for miles. I mean, we had 3 separate 11-hour transits, and in each one, I was able to drive 300 miles straight without really having any issues. My back wasn't sore, my knees weren't tired, nothing like that. Get out, put some gas in it, use the bathroom, and then my other guy, my co-driver, Dan Klein, would hop in, and he'd do another 300 miles, and then we'd be at the next one, and it was super comfy. On track, it performed. Again, I will say this every time. I am not the most capable driver. I know I have a lot of skills to learn. I'm still really green in racing. But the ability to drive that car was very, I don't want to say easy because that might sound a bit conceited, but it was very approachable. You could really find your way towards the limit and feel like you were in control. It did not have any super scary moments that maybe some cars are just naturally known to have a bit of a very finite limit. And once you're there, you're there. So the car on track, excellent. Car on transit, excellent. I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but it's a very good product that, again, kind of fits the Type S brand. It's something that you can take on the track, you can drive it for 300 miles, and it's a very good performer. On the other hand, we had the NSX. That car, again, HRE wheels. It had Redline oil, and the brake pads were NSX option pads. And then it also had a trailer of itself, and I'm sure you've seen the photos.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was an NSX that was cut in half. That NSX, just in a brief explanation, was a former test car, and it was doing nothing. It didn't even have an engine in it. It was just basically rotting away. So we decided, hey, why not cut it in half, turn it into a trailer, and really show that as engineers at Honda, we can come up with cool things sometimes. And also, the NSX isn't very spacious. That's kind of a known fault with supercars, right? Like there's never any room. So because one lap lets you carry a full spare tire, you're allowed to bring one. So the TLX, we had one in our trunk. But the NSX being staggered wheels, you could bring 2. One for the front, one for the rear.
Right.
And so a creative way to transport that was making a trailer. Yeah, it's a bit excessive, but it was pretty sweet. But for the most part, like that car, it's a supercar. There's no way to put it. It'll do things that'll make you wonder how physics work. But the driver who drove it, his name is Chad Gilsinger. He is currently our IMSA driver who drives in TCR in the IMSA series, where we do our professional racing. And then he was also the lead development driver for that. So he knows that car inside and out. I mean, he's driven that thing hundreds of laps on the Nürburgring, easy, tracks around the country, VIRC ring, you name it. So go ahead.
The rules, I thought they said you couldn't have support vehicles. They don't count the trailer as a support vehicle.
No, and a few other teams had small single axle trailers too. Like there was a couple Camaros that had trailers. I think there were 2. And some teams had roof boxes, but it was either a roof box or you just stick a hitch and put a trailer on the thing. And that was pretty prevalent. There were a couple of BMWs who had that. Okay. And just, you can make them unique. Like you could cut an NSX in half because technically it's a single axle trailer, or you could just get a little wheel in engineering one, that single axle trailer that is just fine.
Can you send
point
me
of one lap is
can you send me the front half of the NSX so I can make a barbecue smoker out of it?
we're gonna turn it into a simulator or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's better than the barbecue smoker idea. So.
Yeah, actually, so there was a former one lap competitor that someone approached us about a few years ago who had a Crown Vic that he cut one in half and did the same thing too. So everyone was like, "Oh, you want to be like a Crown Vic, huh?"
Well, the price differential is a little different, but
just a bit.
The rarity is different.
Yeah, pretty much. But for the most part, trailers are allowed.
Okay.
It's kind of encouraged almost, right? Like you can get creative with the way you can take your supplies, but what you take with you, you have to take with you, right? Like then you got to carry it for 4,000 miles. So if you bring a big old heavy trailer, like, well, maybe that could be a bit difficult. Or you can try to pack into your car like we did with the TLX. And we managed to figure out a system to get things in and out super fast, which was kind of nice. So after a while, like in the first 2 stops, you kind of figure out like your method to your madness. And then you just do your best to go through it as quick as possible.
Yeah. So you're doing transit time and you're getting to the track. How long is the track open when you get there?
Each venue varies, but generally the transits go like this. For instance, when we were at Nelson Ledges, we finished up our day there, packed up the car, and started driving to Road Atlanta. That was roughly a 10.5-hour ride. We left Nelson Ledges around 1:30-ish, maybe 2 o'clock, just because there's 85 entrants, right? So getting on track can take a while.
Yeah.
And we basically rocketed down to Road Atlanta as legally as fast as we could. You have to abide by speed limits for the most part because now your car's covered in stickers and you got numbers on it. So you're basically a big old cop magnet. So you just basically cruise, you get on down as quick as you can and you just make it to your hotel. Try to get there so you can get as much sleep as possible because I'll be honest, sleep is a bit of a scarce resource. And the next morning, the event starts at 8:30. Cars on track at 8:30. You can get there as early as you want. Most tracks are open for those events pretty early. Brock usually sets it up ahead of time where the track knows like, hey, we're going to have competitors coming sometimes as early as 6 a.m. because they want to walk the track. And for the most part, they're open. Some tracks, like Road Atlanta, wasn't open as early as all the other ones because I think as Road Atlanta as a facility is a bit larger and requires more people to operate. So they opened up around 7, and then some tracks let you track walk, some don't let you track walk. It just varies based on the weather and the preparation they need to do, and also just overall the number of people they're able to get. So that varies, but you just try to get there as early as you can, and if the track allows it, that way you can get on do a track walk or a track bike ride if you brought a bike, which we did.
Was it one of those collapsible, foldy ones?
Yeah, we had this like little. Oh no, not the bike. They were full size bikes, like hybrid. One was a hybrid road bike, and one was a true road bike. And we had like a little bike rack that popped off the trunk with like 6 little straps. So we had that down to a science where we had that thing off less than like 7 minutes, and we'd be unpacked in no time.
Okay, that's cool. So you guys leave. You guys leave Road Atlanta. And you're saying sleep is a premium on this trip. Are people camping? Do they like just camp out in front of the track, or does everybody get the same hotel? Like, how's all that working?
So I can't speak for everyone whether or not they camped. Obviously, that's all 85 entries means there's over 200 people doing this. And so I don't know what every single person did.
Right.
But Brock ahead of time sets up a series of hotels he basically books out like a block to say like, if you want to book these hotels, here's the one lap hotel. You're welcome to stay there or you don't have to. But generally it's drive down, get to your hotel, crash, or wherever you're sleeping. Maybe some teams camped. I don't know. I feel like everyone was usually at a hotel. I can't say for sure because there's so many people there. It's hard to get to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Especially when you're all just trying to make sure you're getting your stuff done ahead of time and not forgetting like to bleed the brakes or make sure that your tires are rotated. You know, like you're just trying to make sure that you check off your checklist and then then it's track time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be kind of intense. I did follow you on Instagram and or Facebook because you were doing, okay, we're in hour 3 of this transit or 5 or 8 or whatever. And it was just kind of interesting.
I'll be honest, man, the drives, they were long, but you have good friends, you have good teammates, and the drives don't feel as long. Plus, you're going through different states all the time. Some places, like I hadn't been to Arkansas and Oklahoma. So for me, it was like, well, this is pretty neat. You know, I'm exploring a new area, albeit on the roads. But like sometimes it's like for some people, you go through places you haven't been and it's interesting to look at. Maybe you pre-plan a stop ahead of time when you're getting fuel. Like, for instance, none of our teammates had ever been to a Buc-ee's before.
Yeah.
And so from Atlanta to Nashville, there was a Buc-ee's right on the highway. So like, well, we got to stop and see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, might as well top off.
Because you always see the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh man, we got some good brisket there and a bunch of other snacks. We actually, when we were at Buc-ee's, we met someone who had been a big fan of HART and he caught us in the gas station. He's like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like, I've followed you guys for years. So, I mean, you never know sometimes, but that was pretty neat. So, just in between, sometimes you can find stops like that, and you got to do your best to plan out the drives to where you know if there's traffic coming ahead, you're on usually the most direct route, and wherever you can stop for fuel. Because sometimes, like for instance, Eagles Canyon, the nearest gas station was 35 minutes away, and unless you want to pay track fuel prices, which you can, that's your last stop. So we had to make sure that every track that we went to at least had a gas station nearby if we needed to get fuel, or we plan our stops ahead of time where we're getting the right amount of fuel, I don't know, 20 minutes away from the track.
Are you guys reconning that stuff beforehand, or are you doing that on the fly while you're driving?
You could do both, because some transits are really long where if you have 4 or 5 hours to kill, you could easily research what you're going to go do. But speaking for myself, I like to make sure that everything's researched ahead of time.
Yeah.
Coming back from experience with HART, like whenever we go to like our endurance events or sprint events, we always usually make sure to research like where the nearest like grocery stores are at, where the nearest fuel stations are at. So that way when we need to get things during the trip or we're coming to our location and we want to stop ahead of time, we know where it is. So it was just second nature to basically like, all right, here's our whole route. Let's plan it out and we'll do that. So we put all that together only to find out that Brock himself puts together a route book with the same information and passes one out to everyone. So it was like, oh, well, I guess I did this for nothing, but also at the same time, like I didn't know that. And I guess that's coming from like, never doing one lap before. I didn't know that Brock every year hands out a route book and he's like, here you go. You can follow this if you please, or you can take your own way. He doesn't get insulted if you do, but he's basically saying like, I've been doing this now. He's been doing that since 86, I think. So I feel like by now he understands the proper way to, what's the best route and come through all that kind of stuff. Experience to me is the biggest trump card over anything. I always try to listen to people with experience. And when someone's been doing this for longer than I've been alive, plus 10 years, I mean, why would I not listen to it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a rogue and I'd just throw it in Waze or Apple Maps or Google Maps, whatever.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we did for the most part.
Yeah, press go and then maybe open his book. But I mean, the fact that you went and did it yourself, it's just that speaks to peace of mind. I mean, I would want to do that too, just to make sure that, I knew what was going on, because I would hate to end up, the gas light comes on and we're 10 miles farther away than we need to be to get a full tank, So,
yeah.
Or we need parts and we have no idea. There's no parts store in this county, right? Somehow they're illegal or something weird like that. So I would want to know if there was stuff going on. So
that is definitely part of it.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that you had your own book, you got a second book with someone with more experience. And then we do have technology on our side. If he started it so long ago, they weren't even printing off, MapQuest.
No,
they were using hand maps. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, we just punched into Waze or Apple Maps, Google Maps, or whatever, and followed that route.
Right.
And it was kind of basically the same route he did, or that he printed out. It's just when you put it on that system, obviously it'll tell you if there's traffic ahead. So maybe you can plan and take a detour if possible.
Right. Sometimes it tells you if there's cops ahead. Just saying.
That too. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
Very helpful.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I just, that whole transit, the competition, I mean, it's got to be exhausting, but the memory has to be one of the best, that experience that you gain is got to be invaluable. So
I'll go back to what I said initially. I'm very privileged to be able to do this through Honda as part of my job. Obviously, it's a position that I'm sure people would love to be in as well. And again, grateful for being able to do that. But at the same time, it's such a unique experience that, I mean, if we do it again next year, which we're starting to draft up plans, that'd be amazing. And I'd love to participate again. But for the most part, like something like this it was so unique. I've never done anything before in my life like this. There's really not much else to say. I didn't know it was a bucket list item until we did it, basically.
Oh, so it's definitely been a bucket list item for us. My wife wanted to do Big Apple to Big Easy. That doesn't work. That doesn't exist anymore. It's not really motorsports oriented. It's sort of like a jalopy thing.
Yeah.
We just like adventures, and this is more of an adventure in my wheelhouse. But she's always down to ride. So, we just have to get her a couple of HPD weekends in so she can get that experience that's required. So, anything else you want to talk about one lap this year? Anything exciting? Noteworthy?
I mean, one lap itself it's a lot of fun, and it's over 4,000 miles of driving. I think we crossed 11 or 12 states. I mean, it's absurd what we actually did. And whenever you tell someone like, oh, we did this in 8 days, I'm like, wow, 8 days. Like, did you sleep at all? And we slept very minimally. And so I think as a whole, if anyone's considering one lap, it's definitely worth doing, because the biggest part about it is that everyone who's competing there, even though you're competitors, everyone was extremely nice, super helpful, willing to lend a hand, even if it meant they had to stay back before they could start their transit to help you get going. And that was the cool part about it, because sometimes in racing, you could be a bit shrewd and be like, not want to share your details or your setup changes or other things like that. And that's part of it, right? Like any sports like that. But at the same time, with one lap, everyone's trying to go out there, compete, but also have fun and enjoy the experience. And I think most of the experience was the people you met and get to interact with and talk about, and even the people in your classes when you're like, oh, what'd you do for this time? Or how'd you go around this corner? No one was like, oh, I'm not going to share it with you. They were more than open to talk, more than open to help. I mean, they call themselves a family, and rightfully so. We were glad to be a part of it this year, and we hope to do it next year. So which might segue into our plans. We want to do it again next year. We just started basically coming up with a basic concept. With I guess the way our team works, we'd like to use some different vehicles, but we don't have anything set in stone, and we really are just right now formalizing, reserving our entries, and then gonna figure out what we'll run next year. But for the most part, it was pretty fun. I mean, I hope to do it again, and I encourage anyone who wants to do it. Pick a vehicle that you know pretty well. Pick a vehicle that you can definitely trust or have experience in. Pick a good set of tires. I'd recommend the Bridgestones. I'd recommend Falcons. What other tires are out there? A lot of teams ran Michelins. I'm assuming because the Michelins were really good in the wet. I don't know. That's another thing in the event. You're going to prepare for a lot of rain. And, oh, my God, it rains so much because it's the middle of rainy season.
Yeah.
At Nelson Ledges, it was wet, and that track is fast. It's one of the fastest in the country on average speed. So there are a couple of moments where you're white knuckling, but also, that's part of it. Road Atlanta it poured right as we got there, but thankfully the Georgia sun was out and about right after and dried out the track. So first time going on that track was dry, and let me tell you, that track is mind-blowing fun. And then where else did it rain? Oh, when we were at Eagles Canyon, my session, I go out first, like recon lap is dry, and then on the first push lap, it starts raining on only half the track. So that got a bit messy. I have some fun in-car footage from that I shared with my coworkers. It was also really rainy. It was pouring at NCM, which that's my second time there this year, and I have yet to get a dry lap. So fun. But that was a lot of fun in the wet. Because I mean, with all-wheel drive on the TLX and a pretty good VSA system, that I actually had more fun than I thought I would. Because I remember driving in that track in my normal Civic that I would race that doesn't have, has a VSA that's reduced. And it's always just like, you're kind of skating around. It's a bit sketchy. The car might snap. But in that, it's just like, oh, you want to keep going faster? We'll do our best to catch ourselves here. And it was awesome. And then, I think, Hallett was fun. That track was awesome. That's a fast track in the middle of nowhere, but it's so busy. It was like just one of the most fun laps that you could go through because it's a ton of elevation and a lot of it's blind.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of sim training before you got in this?
So I tried, I use iRacing. So I did Road Atlanta on iRacing as much as I could. I probably did like 400 laps just so I could go on that track, know where I was going. Obviously, iRacing translating to real life racing or IRL racing is always, there's always going to be a difference.
Yeah.
So it was, as long as I knew where I was going, I didn't have a problem. And the track walks helped a lot. Last year, the one lap event went to Nashville Superspeedway and to Hallett. So our drivers last year were gracious enough to share their film, and I watched through their videos like 50 plus times each to make sure it's like I can at least identify where they were braking, where they were turning in, etc. So then going out there again, I know where I'm going. I have an idea of what to do. Maybe depending on the conditions, it might be different. And for the most part, I had already been to Nelson before and NCM. I actually did my comp school this year at NCM in March, which was a rainstorm of all rainstorms. And the only track that I really didn't have a ton of resources on was Eagles Canyon. So I just resorted to YouTube videos on that one. And it helped out a lot. Basically, just getting an understanding of like where to go is the most of it. Yeah. Once you figure out where to go, then you can, albeit you have limited time, you can get faster and faster and faster.
Yeah. They're looking at the list of courses. Especially if you're an iRacing person, they aren't on there. Like Eagles Canyon, Hallett. Yeah, they're not going to be on there. So you're going to have to be creative when you do your course recons. There's like a lot of people on YouTube who post their laps, and even if they're crappy laps or fast laps or whatever laps, as long as you can see where the track goes and the layout, that's super helpful. And I mean, other series run on these tracks, like Grid Life's been to a few of those tracks. NASA being the countrywide, they've been to those tracks. So it's really easy to find someone's film from either a race or a track day that they posted and just be able to watch it, get an understanding of what the track looks like. And then when you do your track walk, you can figure out the elevation, the layout, maybe where some bumps are or some dips, and optimize your attack. And then it's a matter of you actually going out on track and doing the dance. Yeah. Yep. So another question, because I don't have a new factory car to drive. What are the tools you recommend to drag with you? Obviously better than with the other team that forgot their impact. You really need to bring one of those, but yeah. I just bring my basic set of hand tools and power tools. So like I had my impact, I had an auto ratchet, air pump for tires, because you obviously have to air up your tires, bring your tire pressure gauge so you air down your tires when you get to the track. If you really are inclined, if you have a pyrometer, you could do that, but that's really if you're only doing setup changes. But for the most part, like I had a basic set of wrenches, basic set of sockets, extensions, some ratchets, a breaker bar,
just your basic hand tools you'd bring to the track, maybe, a bit more condensed. So you're not lugging around as much, because like maybe you don't necessarily need the specific socket for this one random bolt that you maybe might touch,
right,
unless you feel it's necessary. But for the most part, we just brought like basic tools, nothing crazy, a lot of quick detailer to make sure we wipe down the car, because they get disgusting on the transits. You might kill like 9,000 bugs easy. And, but along those lines, just basically anything to like bleed brakes, repair something to a minor extent, gaffer tape. Tape's your friend, zip ties, the usual.
Yeah, usual stuff.
We didn't really bring anything too special, but a good air pump. Like, I have my own little Milwaukee air pump.
The 12 volt or the 18 volt?
Yeah. I got the 12 volt, but the guy in the NSX had the 18 volt. That thing was pretty sweet. But just something like that. You can quickly hook up to the tire, run the pump, get it up to, highway PSI, and then stop after like an hour when the tire's like cooled down to highway temperature, refill it, and then you're good. That's another thing you have to make sure you take care of, is that when you come off the track, your tires can be hot, especially if it's dry. And so you need to make sure that when you get on the highway, your tires are aired to your placard PSI. And then when you stop for fuel or food after like an hour or so, that you reset them, because you'd be surprised how quickly they will drop down to something that maybe you don't want, and you could have a blowout.
Yeah.
And there was one competitor this year that's what happened. They forgot to do that, and they ended up blowing out a tire on the side of the highway. But thankfully they had a spare, and it was early in the event, so nothing really too crazy.
Yeah, some checklist items for when you depart. Some stuff you need to write down or be organized.
Enough sets of underwear. Underwear and socks. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be sitting in the car with someone the whole time. You don't want to be stinky.
Yeah, and take your showers. Don't forget deodorant. Yep. Bring a new stick. Don't bring your old stick. Just bring a new one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So. Another, like, what else did we bring that were like essentials? An AC adapter for the car so you can have extra charging if you need it. A trustworthy navigation app. Take your pick. We had our route book. We had just our basic like repair parts. We had an extra set of brake rotors, brake pads. We had plenty of brake fluid, bleeder bottle, basically anything to service the brakes. And then outside of that, we had wheel and tire assembly. We had all our clothes. You have to bring your driver gear because they require you to wear a fire suit. You don't need like fire undies per se, just your suit, your helmet, your Hans, gloves if you want to. You don't need gloves or racing shoes, but like personally, I wore them just because one, I was completely covered, and two, I've always been racing in those shoes and gloves, so that's what I expect. And then outside of that, a tarp, absolutely necessary, because when it's raining at some of these events, the paddock space there might not be covered all the time. So having a good large tarp that you can put all of your items you need to stay dry together and then wrap up using bungee cords. We ended up doing that. We got a few bungee cords, and the way we stacked all our stuff, we kind of all like burritoed it together. And then when we wrapped up the edges, it was completely waterproof. So when it did rain, like for instance at Nelson, our stuff was dry. The tarp was wet, but it served its purpose. Whereas some people, like, they kind of got unlucky and had to like, oh, we know you got the garage. Can we just shove our stuff in the corner here? And it's like, that's fine. But like, man, sometimes it's just easier to have your own solution. You don't have to, I don't want to say rely on someone's kindness, because everyone's super kind out there, but you know, you want to be able to be self-sufficient like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also make sure that you bring a lot of fluids just to drink. That was the hardest part sometimes, staying hydrated, because it's the heat of the moment, right? You're on track, then you're off track. You're on track, you're off track. Then you got to get driving. You're like, oh, wait, I'm actually really thirsty. I haven't drank anything today. And then you got to drive a few more hours. And the next thing you know, you're dehydrated, you're tired, you're getting cranky, you know, those things.
Yeah, you don't want to be dehydrated. I did a podcast with Carrie Rouse about health and nutrition, and there's definitely studies out there where dehydration impacts your reaction times terribly. So, and you don't need poor reaction times on transit or on track. So you definitely need to plan that. So yeah, that one's good too. Yeah. So that's One Lap of America 2023. Where did you guys actually finish this year?
So overall, we finished 42nd out of 86 for the TLX, which put us 5th in our luxury stock, which, I mean, every car ahead of us had like big horsepower compared to us.
Right.
Some of us, we were down like over 200 to some cars, but again, not an excuse because Nick Hammond last year finished 2nd in class and 16th overall. Again, he's an amazing driver. His skills are top notch. I'm still new to the whole racing thing. It's only been like, I think this is year 2. So we're getting up in there. I'm still trying to obviously learn and whatnot. The NSX finished 10th overall, 2nd in the sports, like the sports stock small bore, because it's 3.5 liter. The cutoff is like 3.5 itself, but the factory NSX bore is 3.4999. So it fit in small bore. The big bore is anything larger. So you have like Porsche GT3s, Corvettes, etc. So that finished 10th overall, 2nd in its class. And yeah, I think that's it for that one. So that car did a lot better. Obviously, it had a very capable driver behind the wheel. I mean, if you ever watch any of the HART TCR races, Chad's driving along with our other co-driver. Chad's a wizard behind the wheel, and obviously helping develop the car, obviously gives him some familiarity.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like for the TLX, we wanted to finish in the top half of the entries, and we did just barely, but it still counts. And we wanted to finish at least 5th or higher in our class. So I think we achieved what we wanted to achieve. Obviously, we set a difficult goal, but it's not that difficult. We wanted to do something that was definitely attainable and be able to show like, hey, this is where we're going at. This is what we were aiming for. I mean, in the wet, the TLX was a lot better than I thought it was at NCM when it was pouring rain. In the soaking wet, we got 19th overall, which, I mean, the cars ahead of us were some big horsepower or like serious power cars, Supras, Porsches, all those other types of vehicles that you're like, wow, I wish I was driving that. But, that car, I'm sure even with a more capable driver, could have potentially taken a top 10. But the part of that you don't really think about is the luck of the draw. Because even when it's raining, the track is always changing. And sometimes if you get a drying or even like a damp track versus a soaking wet track, that's a difference of seconds each lap. And so some guys, like if you time it correctly and you get your run group at the right time, you could get a track that has a dry line, but then the next group that goes out, it starts raining and that dry line's gone.
Yeah.
And so we were victim to that at the end at NCM because we were battling with Team Toyota and their Camry entry, which is, again, driven by excellent drivers, excellent team. They were the spirit of the event by far. And we were battling with them, but they happened to get their session had a dry line. And then the session after, and then we came 2 sessions later, it was rivers across the track, standing water, giant pools. It was just, one of those where time is of the essence sometimes.
Yeah, it's in that format, it's definitely luck of the draw. I think you guys did it right. You set a class marker and an overall marker, and you were kind of broad with it. You said that the previous year, the car was a top 20 car, 16th or whatever.
Yep.
You guys are different drivers. It was a whole different crew of people that showed up, so your competition was definitely different. And if you keep your goals broad enough and you keep your goals more focused on you, like if you do this next year and you happen to take the same car, okay, maybe you go, I want to do better at any of the common tracks, right? That's assuming that the weather is similar. If you show up, if you go back to Eagles Canyon and it's raining this time, it's not gonna be the same as if it was dry last year. Because you have to keep everything into perspective. And this seems like an event where you need to work on your process and your ability to roll with what's handed to you. So, and just you'll eventually start moving up. Your skills are going to progress. You said you got your comp license this year. I can promise you
in March.
Yeah, I promise you it's going to change, because we go from the guys I race with, we already know how fast everybody's going to be. they get a little faster, and then they just start progressing. If they try, if they're not trying, which obviously you guys are trying, then they'll stay stagnant, but then they usually wash out. They usually don't stick around, but you're going to progress. So you're going to get better. I wouldn't worry about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think that's part of why the event is so, what's the right word? It's very competitive because, again, you may not know the track, or it may be raining, and then that might affect your outcome, but maybe you get the luck of the draw at the next one. And so it varies like that. And sometimes for Team Toyota, when they had that dry session, I mean, yeah, I don't want to say they got lucky, because in the end, it's a week-long competition, right? You get 12 different time trials, 2 at each track, and ultimately you got to make the most of each of them. So if one was bad, you can counter with the other and try to do better at the next one. So is it luck of the draw? I mean, part of it, but in the end, ultimately, it's such a long competition that if there is a mistake or if there is a wet session, there's always a chance to come back. And in the end, I don't feel bad saying this. They were the better team this year. They won, and they placed higher than us. They didn't win the whole event. And so, but like, that's part of it, right? And that's the fun part of the competition, because they were very, very good sportsmen and sportswomen the whole time. Again, everyone there was wonderful. It was so much fun. And to put it in perspective, being there for the first time, I obviously was talking to a lot of people and be like, oh, it's my first time here. Like, how many times have you been here? And I'd say probably about 70% of the people I talked to were returners.
Oh, wow.
Which to me, when you have such a high rate of returners, that says everything about the event. Because if it wasn't fun, or if it was too difficult, or if it was put together poorly, they wouldn't come back. And for that many people to come back and say, this is like, oh, this is my 8th one lap. This is one guy was there for his 20th, just really high numbers where you just see him keep coming back. And then some of these guys have been doing it forever. I mean, that shows that as an event itself, it's very fun. And it's worth the attempt, because you're going to have such a unique experience. You're going to have the time of your life, and you're going to drive on some tracks that you've never driven on, and they're going to blow your mind, because they're a lot of fun. And you never thought, oh man, this track out in the random part of Oklahoma, that's a lot of fun. Or hey, Road Atlanta, it is what everyone says it is. Things like that, where you normally would never get the chance to do that. Like, I live over 10 hours from Road Atlanta. I can't just go sign up for a track day and haul myself down there. That's a lot of effort. But being able to go to that track as part of one lap was like amazing. And Brock usually schedules the event to have like one IMSA level track. So like last year was Barber, where IMSA doesn't go to Barber, but IndyCar does, and other high end series. So like, and that track everyone says is called the roller coaster. So I hope to one day be able to do that. But they've done Road America in the past. They've done Daytona. They've done Sebring. They went as far out one year as Laguna Seca, which I don't know how that worked, but apparently they did. And so, but sometimes it'll take you out to just random rinky-dink tracks that you think nothing of, and then you take a lap on it. And you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. That was so much fun.
Yeah. So something you might not have exposure to because you are with the Honda team, but do you know what most people are budgeting for this event?
Realistically, for the 2 vehicles that we put in, including hotels and everything, and the entry fees, it was like $14,000 in total. And the entry fee itself is $3,500, I think. So if you split that in half, call it $7,000-ish, okay, depending on how you want to do it. You can, obviously, the type of hotel you stay at can vary in price and location. I mean, fuel is fuel. You're going to spend that money no matter what, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the hard one.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, the TLX spent just a hair under $1,000 in fuel. But that car is a little bit more has higher fuel consumption than like a Civic would, or some of the other entries. So it varies. I imagine the team's running those Camaros with Z28 Camaros with giant 7-liter engines, or the Corvettes with the 6.2 supercharged, and you're just like, man, I don't want to know what's in your wallet and how much has come out of your wallet. But like, fuel is fuel. I mean, food is food. You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to sleep. Ultimately, the way you save, it's kind of hard to save money, right? Because in the end, you basically have to tell yourself, all right, 8 days, I got to just get through it. Whatever I spend is whatever I spend. And for some dudes, like they love doing it so much that they'll go all the way to the nines and get fancy equipment, fancy stuff, tire warmers. Like you could do that, or you could just do it pretty basic. And I mean, we weren't even super basic, but like in our TLX, we just had the necessary items we need and the tools we needed. We didn't have anything special. We just had a basic tire pressure gauge, and we used the dash cam for film, which is another recommendation I actually would say if anyone does that, get a dash cam. One, because it doubles as a way to film your on-track session, and it's pretty easy to read. And two, being in a car like that, you could have some people being, some people could act like dummies and try to attempt to do whatever. It's just good to have a dash cam, so that way, everything's in front of you. You don't need to worry about other people on the road, because you're driving 4,200 miles in a whole bunch of different states.
Right.
Like,
with lots of stickers.
your insurance is going to be like, why are you all the way out there? And you're like, well, here's exactly what happened. I swear I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had one of those in there. Other than that, like the cost it depends on like what car you run is ultimately in the end, because it really depends on how fuel efficient it is. But anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000, I'd say is a very good ballpark. Mm-hmm. How you spend that money is up to you. I mean, I'm sure you could do it cheaper, but that's what we did. And I welcome to anyone to ask other, competitors, because like, I'd like to know that information too. Like maybe we were doing something that we could save money on, or maybe we were doing something that was saving money that other people could then utilize. It varies, but I'll tell you, we ate, we didn't eat the best. It was mainly fast food or fast-ish food. Very rarely was a sit-down restaurant. A lot of snacks. Yeah, it's typical road trip food.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. One of those trips you don't go to the doctor right afterwards and get blood.
No. Not at all. You gained 10 pounds. How'd you do that?
Well, I sat in a car for 8 days.
Basically.
Yeah. All right. Where can people find and follow the HART team and yourself, in case they have any questions or reach out? How can they get in contact with you?
If you want to follow HART, it's Instagram, Facebook, and we have a Twitter. It's usually, our username is always at HART, HART _road race, as in one word. That's our usual tags. On Facebook, we're HART Road Race. You can find us just basically on any social media, and it's very active. We have our social media guy, Justin, who he was the co-driver in the NSX. He's very good at what he does for social media. He takes amazing photos. All of our photos that are on that Instagram, if not 99% of them, come from his camera. So he is an excellent photographer. All these on-track action shots are done by him. You'll find that in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then you'll find, if you really want to follow me, which I'll be honest, maybe it's not always worth it. I'm just a basic guy as part of the team. I'm at Amato40 on Instagram. I've been that for years. And then Facebook, Nick Amato. You probably better find me on Instagram, because that's where I post all more of my racing stuff, but my Facebook is linked. It's mainly racing and hockey. It's been my life for the last, racing's pretty new, but I've been playing hockey all my life. But yeah, for the most part, you'll find all our updates there. We have our team is ranging. We don't just have a road race in one lap. We have a rally team. We have a karting team. We have a portion that does Rebel Rally, which is like a navigation off-road race for 13,000 or some huge race across the desert. And they're really cool at what they do. We have a Pikes Peak team. We also have our sprint team in Alabama. If you've ever seen the Hot Rod Odyssey, or that Honda Odyssey that's raced in Grid Life and other NASA events, and
it used to be an H1 car.
Yeah. That Odyssey, they still race. They race a new one now, and it's done Grid Life. It's done NASA. It's been the pace car for an Indy race at Barber.
I think it also was at the 25-hour of Thunder Hill one time.
It very well could be. We also have a team out west. They do the 24 hours of Thunder Hill. They'll actually be joining us. I won't be a part of it, but part of our R&D side is going to go race at Watkins Glen this weekend for Champ Car. And we do Champ Car, we do AER. We've been trying to do WRL, but WRL is a bit difficult to sign up for because it's limited and everyone signs up in like the first minute.
Right.
We do that. We'll do NASA sprint racing, which I participated in this year to get my comp license. And I had a blast. Most of the drivers, if not all the drivers who I drove with, were very conscious of where their car was. I will say being able to race in a series, knowing that at least the guy next to you you're going door to door with knows where you are and knows how close he can put his car. Because funny story, I'm going a bit off track here, but we had at Mid-Ohio, our group got put in the Thunder. So I'm out in the Civic and out there's GT1 Vipers at the same place, S2000s with, full aero, big horsepower. And we're going 3 wide up the front straight at Mid-Ohio. I'm all the way on the outside, like, just don't move, don't move. There's a Mazda NP01 just right there. And he's literally 2 inches from your door. But everyone was like that, where it's just very clean, conscious racing. No one is driving too aggressive. I mean, everyone was conscious of yellow flag rules. The first time I've ever been in a race, actually, whenever a yellow flag comes out, I'm not getting passed by someone who's trying to say, oh, well, I saw the yellow flag too late. But so we do sprint racing with that. We'll have some drivers actually heading out to Mid-Ohio this weekend. We'll have some guys maybe going to Ozark later this year and a few guys participating in the national championships. We also do, primary, our team is based on IMSA racing. So we have I guess let me rephrase. Some of our drivers are IMSA licensed drivers, and they'll run a Civic Type R TCR, which is a red, white, and black livery car. You can't miss it. It says HART on the side. It's very obvious. And as an added benefit, as participating on the team from club racing, we also be the crew for that car. So the whole team is all volunteer associates. We're not all engineers as well on our team. We have some production associates whose primary job may be more of a technical side as opposed to engineering. And so again, our team welcomes everyone who's like that. It doesn't matter where you work at Honda. You just have to be working at Honda of American Manufacturing. So anyone from the line, anyone from, I don't know, HR or payroll or for instance, my department, like new model brake test. It's just, you can come in, you can join the team. There's no limits to what you can and can't do. Obviously you get in what you put out. So as a program, we try to reflect that and hopefully make better associates at Honda. So you'll catch us doing all that kind of stuff this year. We mainly are in the Midwest, but we'll do some Atlantic level races. Like we'll be at VIR at some point. We're trying to go to Road Atlanta this year. If the cards fall where they may, we could try to do a Road America race if possible, but it's difficult to get up there. But our IMSA schedule for the rest of the year will be at Road America, we'll be at Watkins Glen, and we'll be at Indianapolis, which I'm really excited about. Never been there. And it's just, if you see us, come say hi. We're more than happy. We always have swag to give away, t-shirts, hats, things like that. We're very open, easy to talk to. And if you're more interested in learning and you see us there, feel free to come up, talk. We'll gladly have a chat and show you around.
Yeah. All right. Do you know if you guys are going to run IMSA at VIR?
Not this year. Okay. Our budgeting is a bit limited. Yeah, that's just tough part. And the time of the year that VIR event happens, it's kind of around when our factory shutdown is. So not everyone is available. So it's always pretty difficult to go to VIR for us. But if we'll be doing that, we'll be going to VIR for club racing at some point this year, likely with AIR in July, depending on how quickly we can get some projects done.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah,
I know the Mid-Atlantic Honda Challenge crew usually goes to the VIR IMSA race. So we were supposed to have some guys go to Hyperfest too, but unfortunately, we had a bit of a logistics issue with some transport items, unfortunately. But you missed the wild.
Normally had I've heard it was awesome, but unfortunately, there was a video of who's that Corvette GT3 driver running the little big wheel down roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
That looked like a lot of fun. The whole thing looked like fun, but unfortunately, we weren't able to go this year. But you'll see if you're going to championships at Pitt, we'll have a few guys there as well.
Awesome. That'll be cool. Yeah. All right. You got anything else we need to talk about one lap?
Oh man, I feel like I talked your ear off so far, so I think I'm all good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome. I appreciate the help you personally gave me. So getting my car going and sharing your story about One Lap 2023. So it's been great. I think that's a wrap, man.
Awesome. And again, if anyone, you included, need help, reach out. I can always talk to people on my team who are much more experienced than I am and ask them questions, because I'm still learning a lot of stuff, but we have a lot of resources here we can use. So if you have Hondas at your race, ask questions and we could do our best to at least help. You can reach out directly or wherever else. It doesn't matter. Send a pigeon. I don't care.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
I really had a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.